Welcome to Imperfect in an Uncertain World, resources for living with authenticity and purpose. What happens after you've had that difficult conversation? A lot of times we come away just feeling so heavy about what's happened. So, how do we debrief and diffuse? Let's talk. So, this is a magical mindfulness formula. Maybe you watched my magical mindfulness formula for difficult conversations. Maybe you read the blog. Better yet, did you practice the formula? And if you missed it, in the comments, I will have a link to both the vlog and the blog. If you didn't, what we're going to do is we're going to dive deeper into mindfulness for recouping after a difficult conversation. So, if you've ever had a difficult conversation, maybe you have felt the emotional upheaval of the conversation even after you have left. Now, we don't want to keep that residue in our body. We want to find a way to move it out. So, as soon as I can after a difficult conversation, I spend some time doing what I call debriefing and defusing. By debriefing, I mean that I just dig into how I reacted in the conversation. And by diffusing, I mean that I allow all of that residual gunk, the thoughts, the emotions, the physical sensations, really to leach from my system. I don't want to hold on to that because it can cause reactions in other ways. So, how do I actually begin the process of debriefing and diffusing? I begin by recognizing that I view the world through a different or a unique set of lenses. The way I see the world is very different, maybe than the way you see it, or maybe it's just a little different. But that little bit is enough to really cause upheaval in a difficult conversation. Naming that lens helps me to understand why and how of the interaction and why it went the way it did, how it went the way it did. So maybe you're saying, but Van, I'm not sure that I need to know all that. And isn't debriefing and diffusing a lot of work? Well, I would say, first of all, I believe you do need to know it. And second of all, that I will tell you that it's not easy sometimes. It does involve a lot of work. But if we don't know the why we did what we did, then we will flip the same triggers over and over and over again. So the debriefing and diffusing is really about paying attention, knowing when those triggers come again and being able to neutralize the impact. So we'll never grow past our reactions unless we know what those triggers are. And for me, those triggers are all about, knowing those triggers are all about meeting our challenges and learning our life lessons, no matter how difficult or exasperating the situation we find ourselves in. It's about shifting from reaction to response. And I'm just going to ask you, how else do we live our soul purpose? We don't. That's why debriefing and diffusing is so important. So I'm going to give you another bootcamp blog lesson. I begin by saying our reality, again, is viewed from a specific lens, and that lens is our beliefs. We have filters on the lens, and those are our assumptions and our judgments. What I'm going to say is that if you don't know how you form the lens or what filters you have in place, you never really know if the world is just an elaborate illusion or if what you're seeing is what truly is. And that is the why of debriefing and diffusing. Now, Chris Argyris has a tool that I use, and it's called the ladder of inference. If you type in the ladder of inference, you're going to get a whole lot of videos that you can watch. Again, I can put one in the comments so that you can watch that video. He postulated that our reactions and responses are based upon our beliefs and how we filter information through those beliefs and our judgments and assumptions. So let's dive into our beliefs. So, what I want you to do is think about a recent interaction. Now, it doesn't have to be one that exploded or even was very difficult. Sometimes you can learn a lot from the conversations that went really well. It can be a gentle memory of something that really impacted you. What I want you to do is choose an interaction that feels important to you. I'm going to ask you to sit quietly, breathe into your center, really get in touch with that memory. And you might even want to close your eyes as you're doing this. You may also want to hit pause as I ask a question and then read and then hit play again to give you time to really process what I'm going to ask you. So the first question is how were you most impacted by the memory? This could be a physical sensation, it could be a thought or an emotion. It might be a combination of 2 or 3 of those. What I want you to do is to create a multisensory image of how you were impacted. And by multisensory, I mean use all 5 of your primary senses and see if you can really dig into what that sense looked like for you using those 5 senses. Now you've got this multisensory image. The next question I want you to ask yourself is why were you impacted by the happening? What was it about that triggered something inside of you? Identify what triggered you if you can, and name the triggers. Now, what I want to say is that not all the time are the triggers negative. They can bring us to joy or happiness. What I want you to do is to name those triggers using 3 to 5 descriptors, and those are typically adjectives. So I want you to bring it into the emotion, which is generally what is triggered for you. Next question, I want you to ask yourself what belief those 3 to 5 words represent. What inside of you was triggered, and what did you believe about that? What do you believe about yourself? That is the belief, the truth that brought you to either your response or your reaction. Now I want you to hold that belief and ask yourself, how does that belief color my world? And be open to whatever you're discovering in this. And then I want you to do some introspection and ask yourself, does the belief need to shift, or is it part of my truth? Now, there is no wrong or right answer to this. There is only how you feel in this moment. Now, the final step is to return to that memory and ask how it has impacted your body. Set a timer for 3 minutes, and during that time, objectively really feel the memory in your body. Don't cling to what is happening, let it go. It's to create a calm piece of the memory, or a calm place of the memory. And that's the diffusing of the trigger. You debriefed it in the first steps, but the final step is when you just sit with it, not clinging to it, not judging it, not defending it, just being with it, that you diffuse the memory. Now, the great thing about this is once you've done this once, you can use the knowledge gained to help you navigate other difficult situations. And it becomes easier for you to debrief and diffuse the situation. So use this information that you get. It's all about increasing your toolbox. It's a way of increasing or reconnecting to your truth and showing up as your best, most authentic self, no matter how difficult the situation you find yourself in. So I want to thank you for watching this video. Questions, give me a comment. Um, if you like what you heard, if you are putting it into practice and it works for you, give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Additional resources are available at vanessafhurst.com. But I think the most important thing is for you to really begin to become aware of what's triggering you during a difficult conversation and really work on ways to dust off yourself to get those things out of your system. If you need a little bit of help with that, let's schedule a intuitive mentoring session or a series of sessions. Would love to work with you on that. But no matter what you decide to do, here's to showing up as your most magical, mindful self in this season and beyond. Thank you and have a terrific day.